All right, should be on now. Let me know if it's not. Okay, let me repeat. Since nobody could hear me, let me repeat. It's been tired. It's been a long week. And it was even longer because yesterday, really this whole week, I've been stressing out and just driving myself batty because I left it until the end, two game jam entries that I had signed, two game jams I'd signed up for in July. And I left them in various states of unfinishedness up until the end. Now, some of that's just procrastination. Some of it's just other things going on. I've been trying to really do a lot of different things, a lot of stuff. A lot of it's not finished. But I signed on for these two things, thinking, well, at the beginning of the month, there's time. I will have time. Well, yesterday I was running out of time, but I did it. And as I was saying, when Ian reminded me that they couldn't hear me, is that this particular episode exemplifies that phrase, do not let the perfect become the enemy of the good. I think I got that right. Basically means, you can finish something or you can try to tweak it to be perfect, whatever that means. But at some point it becomes counterproductive to try to get it into this perfect state because you're just not putting it out there. And I would say that I lived that, not necessarily because I could endlessly tweak with things. All right, there is that. But I had no time. I had no time to really get my vision out there. I may revisit it. I'm going to go through them. There's already two versions of one that's up, and I'll go through that story in a moment. And then the other one, it kind of got, I actually started at first, but then it got, so there were two jams. I guess let me start there. There's the, what is it called? Getting Raised, I think, or what is it? Get Raised, which is friend of the program, Jean-Luc, the Dungeon Key, his game Dirtbags. This was a game jam for Dirtbags. I signed on to that one and I actually had like a month and a half. So it's really no excuse. I have excuses, but I had more time for that one. And I had started it. And then I put it down because I was working on my own stuff. And then in the back of in the kind of the back, riding through the pack into the lead, it's the Appendix N game jam, which I put in for that one. And when I got the idea behind this one is to get random, what would you say? Random, like pulp fiction, pulp, magazine, short story kind of titles, kind of pulp titles, things you might see in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and whatever weird magazines or in kind of cheap paperbacks, and then go with it. The one I got just was not inspiring to me for a couple of reasons. I think that actually makes it a really good exercise, but since I found myself under the gun so much, it was really stressful for me. And so I got Red Sails at Dawn. Now, it sounds cool. It's not a bad name. It's a good title. But it was just left me to lurch. I wasn't feeling doing a kind of pirate type adventure. And I wasn't sure, I suppose depending on how literally you want to make the name, it seemed to me that in my mind conceptually, which maybe is what trapped me, and this is something that happens to everybody, right? You end up in this kind of a corridor of thought, and there's all these other possibilities out there, but you don't really see them because you got the blinders on like they do. And it's something that I don't even know. Are people familiar with the concept of blinders and at least how, if you're in a city or somewhere, you may see horses in New York City. We have carriages with horses. You go around Central Park, you can get a horse ride. And they put blinders on the horses, so the horses, I don't even know if they still do this, but they used to. They put these side walls to keep the horse's eyes forward and not get distracted, or I presume distracted by whatever craziness is going on the sides because you're in a big city. So the phrase, you got blinders on, is basically that you've got something that's keeping you focused on whatever's in front of you, but you don't necessarily see all that stuff. Sometimes that's good, sometimes it's bad. In this case, I think it was probably bad because I went around and around and around in my brain trying to think about what I wanted to do with that one. And it just ended up taking a lot of my bandwidth that I wasn't spending on other stuff I'm doing was on this thought process. So I ended up not really putting much pen to paper, if you will, on it until late. And of course, that leads to doing whatever. This one, which is, as Brian has pointed out, is called Insaltibus Stragus. And this is the one I did for the dungeon key for Dirtbags. And this one was the one I started first, finished last, but it was short. And it's shorter than I wanted it to be, and it's simpler than I wanted it to be. There was more stuff I wanted to do. And this is the one where there's the copy that's in here that I had to get submitted. Got to get submitted on the deadline. And then there's, okay, maybe I'll come back and put more work in it to kind of flesh it out to sort of where I wanted it to be, more or less. I'm not going to sit there and fiddle with it forever. I think at some point it is good. It's policy kind of to be like, hey, you know what? Whatever flaws are here. I did my best in the time that was allotted, and sort of that's it, right? But I think I do want to come back to it. I put the pages on itch, and I'll throw this in the chat. I am selling these, but there's a whole bunch of community copies, 42 at the moment. So if you're watching this anytime in the next whatever, you will be able to get a freebie. And I do that. I'm doing the same thing with this that I do, and I don't have my glasses on, so I hope I didn't misspell my own thing. I don't think I did. Sorry, what was I saying? Okay, yeah, community copies are out there, and I'll post links around. And the same thing is with my other. Most of what I do is if someone buys one, then I'll put more community copies out. So the pool gets refreshed. But this is probably the most, unless I do some kind of big birthday kind of dump of community copies, this is the most there will be at any one time. At some point, these kind of wind down, and then you kind of luck of the draw come in, and you'll see one or two in there, and then they're gone. I will read I guess I'll just go to the document. I don't need to read the summary because the exact same summary is in the document, which is, whoops, nope, that's not you. This is you. All right, boom, 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 boom. I did like this is another thing that's kind of, I did so much wrong. Maybe this will just be the post-mortem stream. Let me read through these, and then I'll go into why I think doing jams is good, but also some things that I'm learning. Some of it is just discipline things, right? Not putting things off, blah, 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 all that stuff. I'll get to that. So Insaltibus Stragus, a hex crawl operation for dirtbags. Yeah, you got that part right. Okay, so the SITREP. The sci-tech conglomerate Yotja, standing for, Yurtkeech Odine Transduction Jargonaut Association, has lost contact with a scientific research outpost on the planet Saltus 4. Eco-terrorism is suspected. Your RIP squad, and that's the kind of the story in Dirtbags is imagine a Running Man situation mixed with kind of Predator or something, or the colonial Marines, where you're convicts that are sent out on paramilitary operations. That's what you are. And so your squad is called your RIP squad. I forget what RIP stands for. I've got the book here, but excellent book, by the way. Thanks to Jean-Luc for sending it to me. Back when. Okay, so your squad has been contracted to drop planetside, investigate, and extract. To fulfill the terms of this extract, you must extract all salvageable data files from the facility, rescue any surviving personnel, destroy the outpost, and rendezvous at the designated extraction zone. Eliminate eco-terrorist threats with extreme prejudice. Okay, now we get the briefing. Planet, Saltus 4, atmosphere, breathable, gravity, Earth-like. You will be deployed at the mouth of a valley designated Vallis Venaticus, approximately 24 clicks south from the research outpost. The terrain consists of heavily forested heights cut by a fast-flowing river. The research outpost, oops, see, I got a typo. Whoop, whoop. I already had to fix one. Can I make it? All right, I'll just have to remember that one. Is located on the east bank of the river at the head of the valley. You should expect to make 6 clicks per hour if you keep to the river, 4 in the sparse forest, and 2 in the dense forest. Yotja's XOBs were unable to transmit their catalog of native species and might potentially complicate operations. Assume that the local flora and fauna are highly dangerous. And then I have this which I need to do again because I was trying to find a font that's kind of a sort of a crazy drawn font. But I think I'm just gonna write some text myself in my own handwriting. I was trying to, in a little bit of a way, kind of pay homage to the stuff that he has in the book, which is very clever. But running out of time. Whoops. So here we have. Oh yeah, I should probably take it off book view. That might help. Yep. No. What was that? Oh. Oh yeah, single page. Oh, did I print it out as a? Maybe I printed out as a. I'll have to fix that. Okay. So here's the area of operations. I had another map and I couldn't find my file and I needed to change some things, so I went back to an older version, but I actually like it. It's not colorful as the other one was, but I think it's clean and it shows everything. So you just got a hex flower, right? You're starting at the LZ. The outpost is here. Each sector is 6 clicks from side to side. Earth-like day-night cycle, great. And then I give some speeds: 1 sector per hour, 2 sectors per 3 hours, 1 sector per 2 hours, or 1 per hour, then 2 per 3 hours. Sorry, then 1 per 2 hours. Okay. And then we've got, some things there. This is, again, I ran out of time. This danger level, and I was just getting tired. I ran out of time and I'm getting tired. So there's that. Okay. So then we've got planet-side stuff. Now I did, Dirtbags as a system is really, and I don't know, I mean, just what I've played and the extent that I played it with Jean-Luc at, was it PAX Unplugged last year? And it seems really great and sort of designed for kind of, not necessarily one-shots, but sort of episodic things where you're kind of in, boom, you're out. I couldn't find in the book, I don't think there are any particular hex crawling rules. And I wouldn't necessarily take the same approach I would with a normal hex crawl, but maybe this takes a long, long time because that's not really, I feel like Dirtbags is trying to be heavier hitting. But since I really just, I kind of took stuff that I already had and I adapted it to this, but I didn't really have a chance to test it out or see how does the game flow and all that stuff. I mean, I'm sure that's true with lots of entries. You have this limited amount of time, and if you're able to in the month, write out your adventure, then properly play test it a few times and then edit it, and I guess more power to you. But I think most entries are going to be some sort of squinting, eyeballing it, saying, yep, looks good, and shipping it. Right. So I definitely did a pretty good ship it. So I did write down, though, okay, here's some squad actions you could take, your standard kind of hex crawly stuff. You could take a sighting, you could search, you could scout, you could do Overwatch. And then I put some actions. Basically, this is for kind of rolling per turn to see what you get, kind of thing. And then I have my critters, which I made up. One called the Kraken. And these are, again, using the sort of, they're kind of slangy terms, what stuff that I think Jean-Luc was kind of uses in Dirtbags. So I have the Kraken, Gas Bags, Band Sheep, a Psychedelox, roll 2, and then the Jabberwock, which is kind of the somewhat chief baddie situation. And I was kind of proud of these, especially as I had to come on them kind of last minute. I just kind of tried to put on my Gonzo hat a little bit and just kind of go with it. So the Kraken is a cross between a giant squid and a kelp forest. Croco says, the squid's a whole forest? Well, I mean, look, Croco, I would say take it however you wish. But it's in a river, so it can't be super big. But I was really just trying to say with, hey, you as whoever's reading this is what do they say, is the game warden, or sorry, game marshal. You decide. I'm just trying to give you some imagery that you can slam together and say, oh, I think I have a picture of what that is and then present it to the players. It not necessarily has to be super literal, like a forest, like it's 3 miles wide. Doesn't have to be like that. But I think you get an image. So that one, it's got tentacles. It doesn't really move around, but grabs people by tentacles, tries to get it in its mouth and chomp down on it. The gas bags, they're lighter than air floating invertebrates. It looks suspiciously like Portuguese man-of-war jellyfish, only much bigger and more brightly colored. They're floating around in the air. They got some stingers, and if you injure them, they rupture and then explode. So you get that to look forward to. Oh yeah, this one I probably should fix this because it ended up cutting up. So then I have the band sheep that are bloated, 8-legged sheep-like creature with a spellbinding scream. And then it bleats a haunting scream that basically you have to do this test, which in the game is called resist nerves, or you kind of get this emotional outburst, which is something from the rules where you kind of, some different things happen. It's not fatal, but it's not good either. Croco says Gonzo was fun to spring on players since it's often truly unique and unexpected. Yeah, I mean, none of these are really unique. I just kind of took things and riffed on them, but I thought they were fun. Psychedelox looks like a water buffalo that got put through a tie-dye machine, and it mesmerizes with its ever-shifting Technicolor fur. And then you basically have to save or you become immobilized as you're staring at the Technicolor Dreamcoat that is the Psychedelox. And then, I forgot to bold this. Yeah, I'm going to have to go through and do a couple things this. And then the Jabberwock looks like a shaggy sheepdog if a sheepdog were 12 feet tall and walked on spindly legs and had gaunt human-like arms and hands. It's the product of extensive genetic engineering using discovered genetic mutations from this world and combined with fauna from this world and others. This is Jabberwock 4 and has been designed to exhibit all the native abilities of the local fauna. So it's kind of a cheat. So the Jabberwock can do the things that these other creatures could do. So if you happen to run into those, and you run into the Jabberwock, at some point the Jabberwock can throw out the Psychedelox's thing. It can do the thing with its fur. It can do the haunting scream. It can it has the stinger. It can do stinging from the gas bag. It's not going to blow itself up. And then it has kind of the chomping kind of squid mouth of the Kraken. So it's kind of a combo. And then basically you land. There's an android undercover who's working against you. I was kind of using aliens. It was sort of my touchstone for that. With the android that's posing as a scientist who's there. He's basically really the story behind the story is here. They're trying to feed the Jabberwock to kind of train it, and so they're feeding you the Jabberwock. So your whole thing is a lie. You're told to do all this stuff. There's the pretense of these eco-terrorists, but that's not really. He's just really trying to guide you around towards where the Jabberwock is likely to be, and then feed you to it. And of course, if you discover him, he's likely to run away and grab some guns and maybe try to get rid of you. And then if you get past the Jabberwock, you can try to get off. So it's get off planet. Because the let's see, was it the android has a secret comm station? Because your comms aren't working, but there's a secret comm station that you can get to that will work, but you have to find your way there. Or presumably you could maybe get Francis Black too. It's kind of a little bit of a deep cut, but Bishop in Aliens was played by Lance Henriksen, who played Frank Black on Millennium, which was a show that I very much enjoyed. So I wanted to kind of give a shout out to an android in a way that probably I'm imagining most folks aren't going to get, just because it's 2 steps removed. And does anybody even remember Millennium? Who's unless they're of a certain age and happen to be watching that kind of show, So there's a little thing there. And then I got some. Then there's a few other hexes that are detailed. I really wanted to give at least something for all the hexes, but again, ran out of time. So ran out of time, ran out of energy, ran out of everything. And that's it. And then I just have the quote on the back cover from the Jabberwock. So what would be my post-mortem of this? Well, it started off well because I actually worked on it, got ahead of the game at first because I drawn out the map early, and I had the scenario done early. I knew what I was going to do really early on, but what happened was I stopped doing any kind of progression of that work. That was the mistake. Now, I had reasons. I was working on trying to get all the troop stuff done, which I'm still trying to work on that stuff, right? Doing normal work and a lot of kind of stuff. But my mistake was not just laying something down. Just come in and do something. Come up with a monster and do that. Come up with get a hex key. I mean, they're not even complicated hex keys. Like, here's an overlook. Like, I could have probably, if I just worked on these and maybe done one every couple of days, I could have had all these done. You know what I mean? And it's going to be the main takeaway, right? Is to do a little bit of work. It may seem like a huge thing or it's a small thing, but just do a little bit of work and you get through it. But the fact that I had that stuff done, this map was done, thank goodness. I mean, because I was not going to be able to do the map. I don't know what I would have done if I'd had. I mean, I probably would have gone to Worldographer and just thrown something together, but it would not have looked like this, and I don't even know what it would look like. So thank goodness I didn't have to do that. Thank goodness I had the main setup, and I knew in my head, okay, this is what the thing is. So this is not 100% what I wanted, because I wanted to have more stuff. I wanted to have like a crash or some kind of site where the eco-terrorists were supposed to be. Maybe even there was an eco-terrorist, but again, it's this idea of it's a scam. So maybe they're there, but they weren't. They were brought there. They didn't come here to do mischief. They had mischief done upon them. Croco says consistent iteration is the best approach to projects. I think it's necessary, right? Unless it's your full. I mean, necessary in everything. I mean, there's a few people who can just sit down in 48 hours or in a day and just blah, 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 go through it. I mean, and that's even if you have the whole day. That's the thing is, even though I was like, oh my gosh, I got one day. It's not like I had 24 hours. I had, between normal work and family stuff and sleep and whatever. It's like, well, how many hours do I actually have? That even gets chopped down a lot, right? So there's just lots. I think you have to iterate to some degree. Now, how much you can get down in if you could set aside good amounts of time and then be on top of that, there's probably some balance which you have to find. Whereas, okay, like maybe I can only do 5 minutes a day. I think you can still get stuff done. If you have 5 hours a day and you can sit and do it for 5 hours, then yeah, do that, right? But you got to do it. So I was saved by having done some of this prep work up front. So I had this stuff going. I luckily I kind of stumbled on. I'm not saying this is amazing or anything, but I like this layout that I did. I like the way it looks, and I didn't have time to really muck around with it. I just didn't want to hand in a Word document, so I just threw something together pretty darn quick and dirty. Oh, this is what is this? This is more of that what is this? Island Punch Spindrift for the working man, but it worked. It worked. I mean, it worked to, I'm not saying there's nothing I would tweak about or change about it, but I think it looks fine. So that was good. Now, so this was the first one I started, the second one I finished, and it ended up that I basically worked on this in the afternoon, evening. This was like whatever I had the map. So what did I have? I had the sit rep, the first part of this briefing, and the map is what I had at about 4:30 yesterday afternoon. And I had to do a couple things, and I got back to it around 5:30. And I sat for the next 3 hours and just got at it as best I can. And that includes, this is where monkey with the layout is annoying because that stuff takes time. Now I'd like to say, well, I had 3 hours just to write stuff out. It's like, no, part of that is setting up the documents, setting up the fonts, setting up the layout, doing all that nonsensio, and all that jazz. But got it done. Now let's move on to the second one, which I will put in the chat, right? Yeah, let me go back. And again, there's plenty of free copies on it. Red Sails at Dawn. So the Red Sails at Dawn, this is the Appendix N Game Jam. Just to recap and reset, you get a random name, kind of title, and then you're supposed to kind of riff something about it, an adventure. Now, here's the funny thing. I'd been stuck on this. As I was mentioning before, I had a bit of blinders going on, wasn't necessarily seeing a lot of possibilities. I didn't want to do, so I haven't run a lot of seafaring adventuring. So I didn't feel like I had a really good seafaring adventure in me. But I also felt that the title didn't really, to me, indicate seafaring unless you're being chased. Because to me, Red Sails at Dawn is like someone's on the lookout or somewhere. It's like, oh, Red Sails at Dawn, something like that, like a warning that gets yelled out at you. So to me, in my mind, it means, well, the players aren't the Red Sails. Something with the Red Sails is coming to the players. What could that indicate? What could that be? And I kind of went around and around and around. And then I kind of got this idea, and these are all coming really late, of maybe riffing on the movie The Fog a little bit, where there's this kind of Flying Dutchman ship, ghost ship, and the fog that's coming to town, and things are coming out of the fog. And I was like, I like that. I like that a lot. Now, the fog doesn't totally, movies and oftentimes don't totally work, right? Because who knows what your party's going to do? In the fog, there are different reasons for things that people do that probably you can't count on the party doing. So what I thought I would do was, you know what? I'm just going to set up this little mini sandbox. I'm just going to set up a little sandbox with the party is in a town, and this fog event, kind of the fog happens to this town. And I'm going to detail people in the town, not to a big degree, to some degree. And I'm going to say, okay, stuff starts to go wrong. Go, right? It's barely an adventure in that sense. It's a setup with hopefully some tools, and then there's the adventure takes place over one night. So essentially, what I came up with was, now the fog takes place on the coast with this ship coming out of the coast. For some reason, I don't know why I just decided not to go with the coast. I went with river. I think I was watching some show on Vikings. I was watching some history of the Vikings program, and they were talking about Viking ships sailing up all the rivers. So I thought, oh, you know what? Maybe that's something that's happened. It's this fog event. So the story that's kind of behind it all is that there was this town that you're in. So it's a little town, and I have the map of it, which I'll actually show from the website because I can show from here, the bigger map. So I'll get into why there's two versions of this with a bigger map in a minute. So there's this map. Let me see. Can I do this one on single page? Okay, good. This one I got right? All right, let's just zoom in here. So this is the gaming area. And I didn't it's not gridded or anything because I don't care. I'll get into not why I don't care, but what I decided to do. So the idea was that in the past, maybe 100, 120 years ago, I don't know, something of that nature, sometime not super far past, but far enough that most folks don't have an intimate knowledge of what happened. A raiding party came up through the river. In fact, they did two things. And this didn't make it into the game, but they actually did a pincer kind of movie where some of them came out and then came through the woods, and then they were supposed to wait. So this is, again, in the longer write-up, which you'll probably get somewhere. The idea was originally, I was trying to kind of, I don't know, I thought it kind of came out pretty well just as sort of a pseudo-historical sort of thing where mistakes are being made and stuff. One group was supposed to come to the woods and wait. And then the ship was going to come. And when the ship came out, they were both going to go in together. So people might be attracted to the ship and then something like that. These guys got impatient. So they rushed. They thought, oh, it's easy pickings. It's the summer solstice is the backdrop. And so almost everyone's in the village green over here. Yada da dee, yay, happy summer solstice. And then these guys are like, oh, this is easy pickings. We're just going to go. No guts, no glory. Let's do it. Woo. Well, they come out, but what they don't know is that there's a knight with their retinue that has come down this way. And they were basically looking for these raiders, but they didn't know the raiders would be here. It's one of these things, as happens, you read about all the time, especially in sort of more older pre-modern warfare. Basically, we're looking for those raiders. We don't know where they are, but we're going to follow. We're going to go down, and the raiders are coming up, and they happen to meet somewhere that neither one expects it. So these raiders pop out. They get armed resistance they're not expecting, and there's a whole bunch of clashes and stuff. Eventually, the defenders end up coming up to the hilltop where there's a palisade wall and some stuff, and they're like, they're kind of in there. And they're at this kind of stalemate. And then at dawn, the red-sailed ship, Red Sails at Dawn, comes up. And these guys come, and they finally get inside the hilltop. But the hero of the hour defeats the captain of the raiders in single combat in this courtyard. In the, what would it be, the Bailey, or is it the Mott? Because it's kind of a Mott Bailey type setup. So maybe it's the Mott. In the Mott. And they win. The defenders win. And this captain, who's so taken with the prowess of this warrior. So the warrior, it's a woman, takes the captain had a horn. This is, I call it the swan song. This is the captain's horn. It's magic. She kind of takes it as sort of her prize. And the guy's like, you know what? As long as you have that, I'm going to swear this oath. I like the kind of swearing of oaths and stuff. I'm going to swear this oath. As long as you've got this horn, nothing's going to bother this town. Because you just impressed me. But should you lose this horn, or should someone take it, or it's gone, We're coming back, and we're going to finish what we started here. Bum, bum, bum. So now, fast forward, I don't know, 75, 100, 125 years later, summer solstice. The party's here with everybody else. Yay, yay, summer solstice. Woo. And now there's kind of this, and the town now is named for this warrior who had the victory. And they actually have a kind of grand retelling of it, just in broad strokes, obviously, of, oh, okay, this is what happened in the battle. And guess what? The horn gets stolen. They don't know it at first, but whoever stole the horn then blows the horn, and then this fog comes in. And the fog starts out here at the edge of the woods, basically locking the village in. And once the fog hits, the party can't leave. Nobody's getting out. Now, you don't necessarily have to do anything, but you're not getting out. At least not until things end, which is it's 6 hours. So basically, I think I do it from like 9 to 6 or something like that. Like when the horn, I think, happens like twilight or the first, night, and then through the hour after daybreak. So fog surrounds here. So the way I work it is I label these areas. So we have the outer commons, we have the inner commons, we got the river, we've got the hospice and the village green, we've got the south village, west village, north village, east village, and the hilltop. And as time goes on, the fog gets closer and closer, cutting you off. So eventually, I presume, I haven't had a chance to play test this, okay? If the party survives around long enough, you'll end up at the hilltop, and then at dawn, a ghost ship with red sails will come flying up here. And in fact, as the ghost ship, it's going to fly all the way up. That dude's going to get out, and you're going to, and hopefully you have to make a last stand or do something. And then if you, just survive, and if you can survive till that hour, then it dissipates. It's got this kind of 24-hour or, this hour of the night hours kind of thing. So that's really the setup. Okay. Now, what happened was if you look at the PDF here, this PDF is 24 pages long. And I was finishing it up at around 3 yesterday, which I felt really good. Oddly enough, given how late I was and everything, I'm like 3 o'clock. I'll have this done. I'll post it. I could take a little break, recharge my batteries, and then I'll get started on the Dirtbags adventure. This is kind of like, it wasn't quite as good as I was hoping. I mean, I was kind of hoping, like, could I be done by noon? If I'm not busy with my actual job, could I, how fast can I do? But things are growing. But things are, I'm getting more things like, oh, I need something about this. I need to talk about this. I need to get this down. I need to get this down. And things take time. But 3 o'clock, I'm right to bounce. I'm like, you know what? I think I can call this flawed, but final. Maybe I'll come back and revisit it. Maybe I'll just let it be. But whatever, it's pretty good. And then I get hoisted on my own petard when I go to the Appendix N Jam page and I scroll down and I reread the rules. And what does the rule say? This module must be no more than 4 A5 pages. I'm sitting at 24 digest size pages, which is not super different from an A5. They're fairly close. I'm at 24 pages. I need to get it down to 4. 4 pages. 4. It's 3 o'clock. So, I've already mentioned, I started Dirtbags around 4:30 or so, or at least I was like, I'm moving on there. So yeah, I spent an hour and a half taking what I had done and then trying to cram it down into this. So this version is the one kind of my official entry. And if you if you come here and you go back here, you'll notice if you come to the page, you'll see there's 2 versions here listed. Here we go. There's the extended. Sorry, I should do this. There's Appendix N Game Jam version and the extended cut. My more or less original one is the extended cut. And here's the very, very chopped up Appendix N Game Jam cut. So, don't do what I did. If you join a jam, and I highly recommend you do. I can't seem to get people to join with me. And I do wish I'll get into that at the end. So you can see here, I got it down there. It's it's really tight. So there's a small version of that same map from the other version. I did manage to I had to cut down. I have a list in the extended version, I have a list of all the people, not all the people, but well, pretty much everybody has a little something for it. And then in this one, I just cut down and put like, here are the people I think are sort of the major people. And then the rest are sort of common folk kind of thing. I had to sort of cut down on locations of things. I had descriptions. I had to cut them down. The timeline is kind of minimal anyway. There's not that much going on. So it actually wasn't that big of a deal. My kind of guidance section on what sort of things I'm looking for is kind of cut. And I do go through basically all 6 hours and then running the adventure. Croco says, too busy currently. Croco, I don't think you are. I'm going to call people out. I don't think you are too busy. Not that you don't have things to do, but I see how much effort you put into a lot of the projects and things you're working on. And I think you just take some of that juice and just focus it on one of these things. And it's not even that it's for like cross purposes. It could be the same thing. You could take, like, say, your dungeon generator, generate a dungeon for fun, just stat it out real quick, throw it in a game jam. That's the thing. That's the thing is, it's not about. To me, it's not really about too busy. If you again remember, Croco's the one that pointing out, hey, do these little steps, baby step kind of at work. If you just do baby step work, it's not that much. I mean, you're looking at this appendix and game jam. You can only have, the rules say, no more than 4 A5 pages. It's not a lot. When you start writing stuff out, it ain't a lot. So to say you have 30 days to write out 4 pages, and it's not like wall-to-wall text or something, right? I don't know. I could probably do it. I don't know if this has a page count function. I'm guessing it's not even that many pages if it has one. I don't think it has one. But what I'm saying is that as I hear that from a lot of people, I've got too much work. It's like, well, if you do like I did and wait till the last second, then yes, you will have a lot of work. If you do the other thing, which is just do a little bit here, a little bit there, a little and you can just have the discipline to kind of follow up with it every day or even every other day, heck, every third day, maybe do 2 every 3 days, then I don't think it is. I don't think it is. And I will say, if you're someone who's into, let me go through that. Before I get into that part of it, I'll go through a little bit of the extended version. So that's kind of what I spent the most thing on. All right, so we have the map. Whoops. So here, so there's some throwaway pages. Not throwaway, but I got table of contents. So I have my running adventure where I talk about the battle, the curse that gets unleashed, how you can undo the curse. This one I need to go back and fix because I don't really talk about the barrow. I kind of forgot about that, actually. And again, running out of time. I have some bits about the horn, that basically the captain's ghost, when he shows up, if you've got the horn, he's coming for you. He's going to get a gun for you first. And then he's a lot stronger if he has his horn. And I have the horn, which has got some cool effects. I got some things about hooking the players. Really, you don't have to do much because it's basically this whole adventure and almost in quotes is you're in a town and some stuff happens and you can't leave till the stuff ends. I don't, it's a railroad in that sense. Like, yeah, you're stuck. You're stuck until this night is over. This night of horrors ends. You're stuck. But what you do during that night, it's up to you. And I tried to be really wide open with it, as you'll see in a minute. And I have some notes about the town and the fog. I did come up with this great chant I thought was good. Oops. The horn, hear it blow. It calls us. We must go to ruin, to plunder. Its voice is as the thunder. Swan song, swan song. Once denied, again we rise. A blood-red tide you cannot hide. Swan song, swan song. That's being chanted in the mist. I thought it was good. I like that a lot. That also didn't make it into the cut, though. I did put the quote. Or the chant in the game description. So we got that. Okay. So I got all these notes. A lot of this is set up, and maybe it might be excessive. I'm sure there are people saying either I don't give enough of that, or I don't need to give all that stuff. But the important thing for me was that this is like sandbox with a bunch of toys that are thrown in it. Imagine you come up into a playground, you see this sandbox, and the kids taking a bunch of their Star Wars or whatever kind of figures and just toss them in the sand. And you show up and you've got these figures. I try to give you some stuff. I try to give you some, hey, do this stuff with the figures. Because ultimately, all that this adventure entails is here's a bunch of people, here's a bunch of stuff, here are these events that are going on. Now you figure out what your party does in that circumstance. That's it. Right? What they do, they just can't leave. They don't have to help anybody if they don't want to, but they can. They could try to run and hide. It might be boring because the first couple hours, it's just, it sort of ramps up. So, okay, that might be boring too. Whatever. I mean, people are going to come up to them. People may yell at them for hiding or, whatever. But it's all this kind of stuff that you as the referee and then your party, it's all kind of what you make of it, right? Kind of thing. So I do have some options. I don't insist that I have 3 options for who stole the torn. Of course, you have somebody else. One is the miller. Millers were often the villains in stories. So the miller did it. It's fine. This guard was actually a descendant of that raider captain, and they did it. Or a kid did it, just unknowingly took it. I have some stuff about the monsters that are there, just kind of how to play them. Because I don't want them to be they're undead, right? They're these kind of ghosts made of fog, but they can be hit with because they have some substance to them. They actually you can hurt them. I mean, you can kill as many as you want because there's more going to keep coming, but you can kill them. But they have I want you to kind of play them. My idea is you play them with personalities so that they're not just marching forward. So I'm not talking about the sandbox. Every family. So there's let's see. There's 12 homes. 12 peasant families live in this town. Each one of them has their own little cluster of treasures. This is what if you were on the Discord the other day when I'd made this whole perchance engine or generator, I guess is a better word, to generate for me little treasure troves. This is what it was for. So I could create these treasures. And the other thing I decided to have a little bit of fun with is that whatever's listed are the things that people think they have. Like your cousin said this was a potion of love or, a love potion. Like, okay, but you don't know. And so I put these things, like some of them are true. Some of them are false. They don't do what they say they're going to do at all. And some are faulty, meaning there's a chance they might do what they want to do, but not always. But they all believe that, oh no, this is the magic, whatever. It's like, no, it's not. But they don't know that. And there's also a treasure map. There are treasure maps. There's 6 fragments of a map that are scattered around in the homes. I took a page out of the Village of Hamlet, this idea that all these homes have loot in them. If the party, when all hell breaks loose, decides to go rampage and try to loot all these homes, they can. I put some just times. If we go back to my to the map, basically. So the other thing is, we're using turns, like done kind of 10 minutes. So there's sort of 6, a whole bunch of turns. You could basically move 10 minutes to move into each area. I don't care about what your movement is in there, essentially, but you can move around. You can move up. You sort of move around. So the idea here is, okay, this clock starts ticking with events that are going to be getting worse. So the party may not know that at first, and then they're just doing stuff. So if they decide to go and loot places, they can, but it takes a turn to move in here, turn to go here, a turn to do this, a turn to search, or a couple. I forget how many turns. Everything's turns, so that you as the GM have those dials that are turning, which are causing time to shorten and all these things to happen. And that's kind of that's sort of the whole thing in a nutshell. Is what does the party decide to do? Do they decide to be very mercenary and just go and say, hey, all these things are panicking. Do they have any loot in here? Because I read the Village of Hamlet and I know people are hiding stuff some places. So let's go look for it. Great, you can, and you will find stuff. And if you start finding map fragments and maybe you get 2 of them, you realize they kind of fit together, they're part of the same document, maybe you start searching for more. That could be something to do. The other idea would be that people could say, hey, I've got a love potion and I'll give it to you if you save me and my wife or whatnot. Krako says, I feel like I want to do an adventure around treasure maps, maybe different treasure map, what they lead to pairings, not anytime soon though. I'm not sure what you mean by what they lead to pairings, But yeah, I think it's one of those things that's always recommending the old rules, right? And AD&D and everything, and even earlier, treasure maps, give them treasure maps. So you got a treasure map. And I kind of put a thing like, hey, if you want to lead on to another adventure, you can, or it can lead to a treasure that's described. So we got that. So I thought that was neat, right? They're all these treasure map fragments, and they fit together. And you can, if you get all 6, you'll get the full map. But they're also there for you. And they're also, and this also gives things that people can use to bargain with you to do stuff. So here I have the cast of characters. I did, I just, again, because I'm running out of time, I wanted to give everybody their own little personality, but I ended up doing it by family, essentially, because I was just running out. So they're just really quick, for the most part, really quick character details. So Feldbert and Waldrada, they're caring but foolish. Diswin, who is one of the kids who may or may not take the horn, is curious or rebellious, which makes sense, right? And then some of the more main ones, like the Miller, devoted but nihilistic, middle-aged widower, lives alone at his mill, not unkind but staunchly mercantile in his affairs, thus hated by all the farmers. I mean, that's generally the from what I understand, that's the tension between the farmers and the mills. The farmers need to bring their stuff to the mill to get milled, bring their grain to the mill, and then the miller gets to take a cut. And they kind of need the miller, and I guess the miller does need them to some degree, but not as much as the farm. You know what I mean? The miller has undue power over these farmers, and which leads to them hating him. So I just kind of threw that in there. So we have some of those guys. We got some more. Let's see, the Almaness, which I think is a great word. They run the hospice, which is kind of like I know tavern here. There's the hospice, which they run, that you could stay at. The merchant, who I was rolling up stuff randomly, and I got some good stuff for the merchant. So the merchant actually has a ring of wishes. It's not necessarily a ring of wishes, but he thinks it is. It's faulty. So I think it's only a 2 in 6 chance of working, but he's do that. This guy, Dagard the swordsman, who may or may not have stolen the horn and may or may not be a descendant of those original raiders. Some other folks in here, acolytes, blah, blah, get all there in there. And then I get the very simple, and this is all written for troop doomsday, my system. It's all, you can run it with anything, but, very simple. Just need hit dice, basically, and kind of an attack and defense sort of thing. And then I get the location. So now, each location, right? So there are 12 farmsteads in the town, split up in the 3 of them in each of these quadrants. Each one of those has some kind of little treasure trove that they've gotten. So Feldbert and Waldrada have 5 copper pieces and a shell bracelet hidden in an overturned bucket. This other family has 6 silver pieces and a potion of command, which may or may not work, hidden in a pocket of a cloak. These folks have a map fragment and just some copper pieces. Let's see. These guys all have a potion of weakness that doesn't work. Also have a map fragment. These guys have 5 silver, a bronze torque, a potion of curing that doesn't work, another map fragment. They have some copper and an ivory necklace, so forth. And then you get into, when we get to the hospice, the acolytes have some stuff in their chests. If you go into the hospice and start rifling through their stuff, there's stuff there. The Almaness has some stuff. The merchant, he's got a lot of stuff in a strong box. Gold clasps, some amber earrings, an ebony medallion, a belt, a bone goblet, a ring of 3 wishes that may or may not work, a love potion that also may or may not work, a potion of growth that may or may not work. Actually, all these may or may not work. A potion of healing and a potion of animal control. Like, the idea here is he bought a bunch of stuff. People tell him, "Oh no, this is my, like I said, my cousin said this. He got this and it works." But if you think about how do you test a lot of this stuff? You don't want to waste it. So he may be going to sell it to somebody else or do whatever. He probably is not. Maybe the wishes he would keep, though. Depending on your game, it's one of those interesting things, right? If you had some of the things that grants you wishes, and I would imagine in the world people would know, like, wishes. They're going to give you the worst version of whatever you ask for, kind of thing, that you might not want to actually use it because you're damning yourself in a way. Let somebody else do that. I'll sell it for, 100,000 gold pieces, and somebody else can take that risk, especially if it doesn't work. And I won't deal with some angry djinn trying to murder me with my own words, kind of thing. Then on the hilltop, we have a temple. The acolytes up there have some stuff in their chest. The deacon has some stuff in their offices, including, He's got a broom of flying, which could come in handy for one person to try to escape, and a potion of ESP. And this is I don't know if I really did a good job writing this anywhere, but part of the idea too is that you might get someone might tell you what's where, or the deacon might say, hey, you got to get me back. The mid with the deacon, if he wimps out, says, you got to get me back to the rooms. And you go like, okay, we'll get you back there. He says, I got something, I got just what we need, but I got to get to my bedroom. I'm like, all right. So you take him to his bedroom, grabs his broom of flying in front of the bed, jumps out the window, flies away like the Wicked Witch of the West. You can do that kind of stuff, right? You can do that. Now, and I could have made a note. Maybe I should, if I update this, right, that some of the acolytes, some other people might know what other people have. I don't know. I think part of this is kind of like, you as a GM, just you riff on this stuff. You read through, it's like, oh, these guys have some stuff. Maybe someone's seen it. Maybe someone knows something. Maybe someone tries to sell their neighbor out and their stuff, right? Oh no, I don't have anything, but I know my neighbor's got this fancy thing. They've been hiding, and I know they've got it. So if you help me, I'll wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But there's a lot of fodder for mischief and stuff in here. That's kind of the deal, right? So I'm trying to give you a bunch of stuff and saying, all right, make mischief with it. The mausoleum, she's got some stuff that's that hero. She's got something that's buried with her, a ring of protection +1, something, Then we get the adventure, which just goes through the hours, and not that much happens. The first hour has more stuff happening because it's kind of setting up stuff. A lot of it then, not too much is happening. Just everything's just getting worse, right? And then like I keep saying, as the situation worsens, you're just acting and reacting. What's happening to different people? What's going on? What's the party doing? And that kind of thing. And as the just circumstances are getting worse and worse and worse. Oh yeah, the kids. You're right. And one of the things is they realize their kid's missing Diswin, whether or not he has the horn, and then you can kind of decide where he's hiding. And then things get worse. And then at dawn, the captain, the captain of the Raiders shows up, and you have to you could fight him or not, but you got to kind of survive. And then this is the treasure that you can find. It's got a lot of stuff. Oh boy, I messed up on here. Looks like I have to rewrite this. 7,6,500. Yeah, that's a mistake. It should be just 7,650. A gold brooch, an ivory and coral pendant, a silver ring, a bronze tiara, and a gold crown. I didn't put any magic weapons and stuff in here because I figured he would have those stuff with him, or he would have had it with him. And then I have a little notes about, oh yeah, you can convert this other system if you want. And then I did put a casualty tracker. I think that's one thing that's maybe difficult, and I couldn't really figure out a good way to do it because I don't want to say these people die or these people die, but basically people should be dying. Maybe I should have put in thing like, here, roll some dice. Maybe I'll edit this to add some numbers in. Say, here, roll some dice. If you roll up a number, they got killed. I'll probably add that in. And then that's it, just an end page. Whoop. That's the extended version. The much shorter version is what I had to submit for official whatever, and it's even the extended version I think has some holes in it. I would certainly say that the Appendix N version does. Again, I couldn't let the perfect become the enemy of the good because I didn't have time for perfect. Didn't have time to bleed. Didn't have time to be perfect, and I just had to kind of get it done. Now, as I'm sort of wrapping things up here, and this is a tough one, right? I really enjoy these game jams. I really enjoy it. They force you to make something within a specific time frame, within a specific framework, perhaps in a certain number of pages, perhaps on a certain theme, perhaps for a certain system, something that you can kind of the good. I feel like the limits and things really help you. Like getting a title that you don't want or you're not comfortable with, like me and Red Sails at Dawn, and saying you got to make something with it. You can't ask for it. I mean, maybe I could have asked for another, but I wasn't going to. You make something of this. Figure it out. I think those are all positive things. I don't think like it's a lot of work. And I think it's easy. I like mucking around in the editing software, the layout software, but you can use some like Types or Markdown. I've put up stuff that, I put up Markdown versions before I had print ready, whatever, not even print ready, but just laid out versions. I think, do that. Don't let that be the blocker for you. Don't let things be the blocker for you. Just set aside a little bit of time. It's kind of, I think, the thing is, like with all these jams, right? Like, and the things I like about these ones that are a month, I think the Dirtbags one was a month and a half, right? It's not a year. It's not like, oh, I got to make a mega dungeon 365 days. Like that just feels like a lot, even though it's the same principle of just write a little bit every day. And then before you know it, a year has passed, right? But can feel, these are like, you know what, just a month. And I think too, if I was going to do the next jam that maybe I make, I'll cap the pages on there, because I think it's another good one. Because I think if I'd seen that up front 4 pages, that might have, I probably want to come up with another idea, maybe a better one, one that fits better in that kind of page count. And but it's to help alleviate that idea of like, I can't handle it. I can't handle too much. The things you gain, again, a sense of purpose, sense of making something. You could put it on itch or some marketplace that maybe some people will throw you a couple of shekels for if they feel about it. But even if you don't, you're saying, you know what, it's free, just whatever, I don't care about any of that. You're sharing it with people. You're joining communities of folks who are also working on this stuff. If you're a creator, I think it really helps, because that same kind of community stuff, that's how it's another way for you to get discovered. If you're wondering if you've been publishing stuff somewhere and you're saying like, I don't get a lot of people checking out my work, try doing some game jams, because those people will click on your work from the game jam, because they're gonna click on, people. It's a gateway. It's, oh, I joined this jam, I want to read what other people are doing. Oh, this person did that. I had a couple people follow my itch profile just yesterday and today, and when I clicked on them to see what they were from, one of them was from a fellow author who did one of the Dirtbags jam, and one of them was someone who had done the Appendix N jam. And that's just how you meet folks. And, oh, you're also a creator. Great. I'll follow you. You follow me, blah, blah, blah. Really good. A really great way to kind of work and practice. Everyone understands with these jams that people are doing them under time constraints. A fellow jammer. That's right. Not a star jammer, just a game jammer. Everyone knows you're doing it under constraints. Everyone knows it's not going to be perfection. It's very DIY, very garage. And some people are going to put out beautiful stuff, right? And you can't get, oh my gosh, I don't have a beautiful cover art that looks like a pulp novel. I don't have whatever. It's like, just do it. But as Kronko mentioned, right, you gotta, for best results, think about it just a little bit every day. Do that incremental work. Don't leave it to the end. Don't, if you can help it, which far too often I end up in a hole and sort of dig my way out. I'm trying to lay it out and write it at the same time, and it's horrible. Layout programs, they just don't make good writing interfaces, because it's, at least for me, I do it because I end up having to for one stupid reason or another. But I always say, like, oh, why did I put myself in this situation where I have to write in the layout program? Because it's terrible. But given that, you can use plain text, Markdown, a notes app. You get it on your phone and just like, oh, hey, I'm on the train, on the subways, on my lunch break, I'm waiting for a coffee, whatever, and just jot down a little something. If you do that every day or every couple of days, you're going to be done. You're going to have something. And then you can spend, if you're able to do that in the first couple of weeks, then you've got 2 more weeks or 3 more weeks to do whatever, to lay it out if you want to spend time doing that, or give it a test drive with some of your friends and see if you discover something through play. But it's fun, and I'd love to see more people doing it. I post them on the Discord, and I usually get a couple people who are like, yeah, but then I feel like I'm usually the only one that does something, but I'm trying to live by example, I guess. And I really do enjoy it. I just need to plan my time with them a little bit better. If I plan my time better, it would be better. But I got it done. I'm really glad I got it done, even though I'm probably not going to look back and say, yeah, this is my finest work. It's not. But it's something. It's something, and I can build on it. I can always come back to it. I can always do a version 2, or just create another, say, well, this was good, but I'm going to do it over, and I got a better idea, and I'm going to mix that in. You don't have to say goodbye to it forever if you don't want to. And it's there for you. So, game jams, do them. Hey, my ear trumpet, thanks so much. Do it. Enjoy it. Check out those links. Go to itch. I don't have it on drive-thru yet. I was going to say drive-thru doesn't do community copies. Another reason to support itch. If you have the option, if you're on both platforms and you see somebody's work, go to the itch one. I mean, if there's somebody's work you're interested in, see if you can buy it off their site directly, because that'll be the best for that creator. If not, itch is definitely better. I don't know how it compares to something like Shopify, but it's definitely better than drive-through, and drive-through forces you to price everything the same. So they force the author basically to take the cut, take the hit, which is, I think most authors would probably do that anyway, but they don't give you an option of pricing it up to make up the fact that they take out more than another merchant, which is a shame because it's capitalism inverted, right? Because you would think in the capitalist system, if they lower their prices, then they got to lower their prices to match, and that doesn't happen, or that's not happening. It's just lower. Drive-through just says, nope, you're going to have to bump their price up to ours or lower it down and you take the hit, which is kind of like, well, you got to do it, I guess, but not what you want to do. All right, folks, that's all I got. I got to go. We're dog sitting for my sister-in-law, so I got to go walk the dog. So have a great weekend. I'll try to get back on the horse as far as doing other things now that these jams are behind me, but who knows? I may be looking over the weekend and find a jam for August to participate in. I know Croco mentioned RPG a day. I don't really know what that is. I got to look it up. I got to see what the parameters are. It seems interesting, but that almost to me seems more overwhelming. I almost would prefer it was 30 days, I don't know, 30 things in August as instead of, a day. But then, I might leave it till the 29th of August and I'm trying to cram in 30 things. Croco says, don't let the dog walk you. Yeah, well, this dog is she's a strong dog. She probably could walk me, but I'll try to maintain dominance. We'll see how that goes. I posted the link originally. Yeah, I remember that, but I just didn't really read it. I posted it up as kind of an oddity, interesting thing, but I didn't really dig into it very much, so I got to look at it. All right, folks. Game on, everybody. I will talk to you later. Bye now.